Hey everyone, this is Arun, otherwise known as Arunatic5 on Reddit. With me I have Adam, otherwise known as Schweet44722, as well as Mr. rOilers Podcast, aka James, uh, otherwise known as Paul McCartney on Reddit. So we're back together again after a short absence. And I guess at this point we get the opportunity to basically round up a absolutely crazy past 2 weeks. Um, I apologize for the lack of video now. It
That whole
should be
thing.
back up.
Can't full screen it.
Yeah, you can full screen it. We mentioned that earlier. Sorry about that. So I guess we can start off with, the whole free agency, all the trades happening, the extensions, and everything. There's so much that happened.
Seriously.
Is there anything in particular that let's start off with the Subban trade, I guess, because that was really controversial.
Ugh.
Adam, did you want to comment on that?
Is there anything really to say that hasn't been said? It's a travesty, honestly. I guess for the first 2 or 3 years, Weber's gonna be good, and then his albatross of a contract until he's 40 is just gonna tank the team, and it didn't make sense to trade a player that is Subban's already arguably better than Weber. He will be better for longer, and from now on, and he was already the face of the franchise. So what can you say? Weber's a great player, and he's a great guy, and he's a leader in the locker room, and you can't say enough things about him. But he's not PK Subban for the simple fact that
Yeah.
he's not as young. He's not as skilled as he has a clapper. It's I don't know. It's Montreal fans are right to be pissed. The media
Mhm.
is rightly coming in on Bergevin, and Bergevin has no good reason to trade him. He just said, "Oh well, it's for reasons you guys don't know." So, yeah,
Mhm.
because we don't know why you're so fucking stupid. That's about all I can say. I don't know. I honestly can't think of another way to put it.
Yeah,
James?
that's more or less like you hit the nail on the head. I mean, like at the same time, what do you say that hasn't been said? But how can you say nothing? Because it's such a ridiculous trade. I mean, with Hall for Larsson, you don't necessarily have to agree with it, but you can see what the thought process is.
Yeah.
Mhm.
And with Subban for Weber, it's like I, I honestly don't get it. I want to understand it, and I want this to be justified, but I don't get it. And that I think is almost what's more frustrating for some people rather
It
than the trade itself.
it kind of feels like Sagan did, where it's like, oh, this player's playing great. Although Sagan was a different situation, he didn't donate $10 million to a children's hospital, but it just
No.
No, what's the bigger travesty for me with that whole $10 million situation is the fact that his own team didn't nominate him for the Masterson Trophy.
Really? Who did they
Yeah,
nominate? Do you remember who they nominated?
was it
I
Placanus?
don't recall, but it wasn't
It
Subban,
might
that's
have
for
been
sure.
Planets.
Well, usually the Masterson Trophy is given to players that like underwent hardship or whatever. So I don't know.
Mm-hmm.
Not the Masterton. Which one is it for lots of contrib? No, no. I'll find out. Don't worry.
Okay, well you can do that in the background, but yeah, I mean I could babble on about this forever. I think Montreal's going to look back at this trade the same as they do the Patrick Waugh trade, and
Ran rightly so.
probably is the beginning of the end for Bergevin.
It better be.
I don't want to say probably, but I mean, how can you not at least think that?
You trade a top 10 NHL defenseman
Top
for
five, I
one
would say.
who's probably in the top 10, but will be in the top outside the top 10 looking in very soon,
Yep.
and you
It
don't
just
lose your
doesn't
job
make
over
sense.
it.
He's older. He's under contract for a decade.
Mm,
The analytics community has been on Weber's ass for a couple seasons now. It's just, I don't know, man. It doesn't make any sense.
mhm.
And it sucks for Weber, too, because he's still a great player, but he's not PK Subban. And you know that if he shows up in Montreal, doesn't put up 50 points, that fan base is going to eat him alive.
Yeah, and you know what?
Yes.
If Bergevin did that in
He
Edmonton,
no, here's the thing though. There's a lot of population in Montreal that was generally unhappy with PK Subban, and I think those are going to help stifle out any other counterclaims if Weber puts up, say, 40 points instead of 50
A
points.
little bit, but then
But what I really hope happens this season for those fans is PK Subban absolutely dominating with Yossi.
and he will. Are you kidding? Like
He
the
will.
lineup,
Yeah.
I think they're gonna have a bit of blues when starting up, but other than that, after that, I think they'll be fine.
the defense Nashville now has is top of the league, no questions.
Yeah.
Like
Subban, Yossi, Ekholm,
Ekholm,
and
Ellis,
Ellis.
Ellis, Jesus, Ellis could be top line in another
even
team.
even their bottom pairing. I'm trying to remember.
No, their bottom pairing is not good.
Bottom pairing isn't that bad. It'd be probably second pairing in our team. Like it's
I'll have to
well, I
look it
guess
up.
not
I'm not
Nashville Larsson, but it's just it's incomprehensible. Like if Belgevin was in Edmonton, he'd be fired in an instant.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't think the trade would have made it anyway because Nicholson would have shut it down. But that's just like if he was in another market where he didn't have the full control, like full backing of the owner, he'd be gone in an instant. Like he just nope gone. It's absolutely ridiculous. And like,
Yeah.
I'm not a Habs fan in the slightest, but that's just.
Yeah,
I guess,
What do you
Peter
say?
Granberg is what I'm seeing right now.
Manberg.
I think it has to be updated still, but hey.
Yeah.
the
In any case,
the
yeah.
thing that the hilarious part the whole time is that Belgevin came out and said, "There's no rumors. Don't worry about it. There's no."
Yeah,
rumors,
that's what's upsetting for me, yeah.
and then fucking trades him for Weber. Ugh.
Traded him like
The
15
fact that he
minutes
says,
after
I
the
am
fight.
not actively shopping PK Subban.
Which
But
I
I
mean,
can't.
People that read between the lines were being hopeful, and they said they were being hopeful that, like, oh, we're reading between the lines. It probably won't happen, but
Yeah.
if he's actively saying he's not, most GMs aren't going to say they're actively shopping their biggest player. We never heard that Taylor. We heard Taylor Hall was potentially going, but we never really heard that Hall was a trade target until it happened. Actually, I was actually saying that they'll never trade Hall. They'll never trade Hall. 10 minutes before they traded him, which is why I'm now stuck with the Korpikoski.
okay, I guess that's a good segue. We
Yeah.
can talk about the Hall trade, because that's the one that's most related to most oil, for most
I
oil.
want to say something about Campbell actually before we start though. Starship Coyote mentioned in our last, he's like, oh, we need to do our homework on Campbell, and he's right. Campbell's actually a hell of a lot better than I thought he was. Campbell's like a second, despite his age, is a second pairing player. So I just wanted to make that correction before I move on.
Campbell who? Sorry?
Brian Campbell.
Brian Campbell.
I thought.
Oh, Brian
I looked
Campbell.
at his
Yeah,
age
yeah,
and I
yeah.
was like, nah, he's
He's-
not that. You know,
His
Turns out-
age is a serious issue, but
he's still
one of the
playing
big
well.
reasons that Ekblad looked really good this season was because of Campbell.
Yeah, which
I would.
I underestimated him. So, yeah.
Mhm.
Now, Hall Larsson. Arun, you want to start that one?
I'll
You
start.
want to start that one?
I
I'll
was
start.
super emotional when that trade was made. Hall was my favorite Oiler, bar none, McDavid included, and I was very upset. I still prefer not to think about it because I don't think that I'm ever really going to be happy with the trade or come to terms with the trade, but I can see the justification for it, and I can see what Chiarelli is trying to do. So, on one hand, I hate that he traded Hall. That's the emotional side of me. The logical side of me kind of applauds him for it because something had to be done. And if Hall's the one to go, then so be it. Who knows whether or not it's going to work out, but it's better than sitting on your hands like Tambellini would have done. So,
Okay. Here's my problem. This trade could make out to be one of the best trades that the Oilers have made. Potentially. But there's also an equal likelihood that this will turn out to be one of the worst trades that the Oilers have ever made. And therein lies my issue with the trade. It's that we traded away a sure thing superstar for a defenseman that is currently a top four defenseman, has the potential to become top two. He's never been really put into that situation. The problem that I run into is that, yes, we needed we had a situational need for a defenseman. But at the very least, if we're going for something that is more of a potential than a sure thing, couldn't we have at least picked up I don't know, maybe even a draft pick? This seems nuts. Like if we had a second round draft pick, we could have gone for a Tyson Berry.
The rationale.
Or
Oh wait, us including a draft pick or them giving us one?
Them.
them including a draft pick.
Sorry, say that again. Them.
The Devils including a draft pick.
Okay, the justification for that, I believe, was that the Devils were taking on more salary.
Yeah, 1.8 million more salary. That's not even salary at
I
that
don't know.
point.
That's the justification for it. I mean,
See the
Uh, it's I don't know. It's just like
it's yeah,
it's
and
such a it's there's lopsided trades and then there's this trade. It still has potential. I won't deny Larsson can has absolute potential to be a stellar defenseman, but right now his body of work indicates that he has a ways to go. And what we needed now also was a sure thing.
yeah,
yeah.
I do have a bit of an issue with the trade in a sense. Like I'm of two minds. Like James said, emotional in the sense that Hall was a player I liked. He was never my favorite player. So, and from the emotional side is less. But I'm of two minds. So there's the idea that you're giving up the second most valued player in our team, second only to Connor McDavid, who's never getting traded. The fact that like unless he absolutely demands it, some shit happen, whatever, he's never getting traded. So Taylor Hall is your most valuable piece, and you get a very good defenseman. Larsson, we're not going to say that Larsson is going to like the Devils have a good defensive core. Top four is pretty solid, and he was arguably the second best defenseman on the team at the end of the year last year, and he was buried.
Uh,
And he was buried by DeBoer a few years ago. So maybe last year was his first year progression. But he's only going to get better from here. Now, what we did is, like Arun said, traded our surefire superstar 70-point a year player,
Second best player on the team
yeah,
player.
for potential. Not like he's a good defenseman, but potential number 2-1, even like we don't know. But
Say number two. But,
and
yeah.
then see that's the thing is that it's maybe maybe we overvalue Taylor Hall in the market, and you can't get a number one defenseman for him, and that's just reality on NHL nowadays, where defensemen are so highly valued that even one of the best left wings in the NHL can't get him. And maybe it's partly because he's been plagued with injury.
No,
This is
I
his
think
Let me
I
finish.
think honestly
Let me
Shia was
finish.
forced to
Let me
stand.
finish. Maybe it's that his injuries have hampered a lot of his issues, and have a lot of his value is that he's injured every year, except for this year. So we don't know behind the scenes. But that said, it does seem a little weird that we only got Larsson for Hall. Like it does seem kind of weird that we only got for a top five left wing got a potentially very good player and a very good player already, but a potentially number two defenseman or and a number one. Rather than
To
like
to add on to this, the last time the Oilers, this is not the first defenseman that the Oilers have gotten that's formerly played for the New Jersey Devils. The last defenseman that has played with Andy Green top 2 minutes for the New Jersey Devils is currently signed on to the Oilers for a $4 million contract. His name is Mark
and
Fane.
Mark Fane was never as good as Larsson is now though, and that you know that.
It's true.
You
I
know
will like totally agree to that. With that being said, I think people are really underrating, like throughout the league, are really underrating Andy Green.
Yeah, absolutely. No, yeah, no, that's
Mm.
I'd agree with that.
And Fane's, I would argue that Fane's biggest, like best aspect is that you pair him with a good defenseman, and he will complement that defenseman perfectly.
Yeah,
That's his greatest trait in my eyes.
I think his biggest weakness is actually Fane doesn't stand out because he's solid in the sense that he won't make too many errors, but he never has flashy play, and that's the kind of game Larsson plays. So I think to start, people are going to be down on Larsson, but you know what? If we're allowed, I think we're allowed as fans to be upset about the trade at the moment because of the return we got. But if Larsson becomes a number two, number one defenseman for us, I think you look at it in better light. I don't think we ever win this trade unless Larsson actually becomes a number one defenseman for us. But I think you can look at it in the sense that, okay, well, Shirley knew we were going to get better, that we were going to
We
just
did,
drafted
yeah.
Puljujärvi,
It's addressing a
we
need.
picked up Lucic, Bears looking really like we have a couple pieces here, and that maybe Larsson can be that number two guy that we can rely on.
Mhm.
And in that
Okay,
sense, the trade
but-
becomes. In that sense, the trade becomes bearable. I will never say it becomes comfortable and it becomes good. It becomes
It's
bearable.
not even bearable. No.
Like no, like I said,
Here's the
if it
problem.
becomes that level, I think it's
You
bearable.
mentioned Adam, sorry, that if he becomes a top two or top was it number one defenseman, then it's worth it. But there is an equal likelihood that Hall's going to put up close to 90 points this season.
Yeah,
While what was it? Adam Larsson
it's a
just can't
five.
stick to a top two role.
I know, and that's the thing is that it's a lot of this trade has a lot of well, what comes next?
What ifs?
What if?
Like we're not gonna get a solid answer until we see what happens on the ice.
I think we have to wait almost 3 to 4 years to
Based upon
properly
the
100%.
product that we know so far, however,
We've
this
lost.
is
Yeah,
still a major loss of the
sure.
trade.
Yeah,
But I think this trade
There's no
this
denying that.
this trade is definitely one of those ones where you wait 3 4 years, look back and say, okay, we know we lost at that point, but now we're here. What do we say now?
Very similar things were said when Sagan was traded for Louis
Yep.
Eriksson.
And I
And
think
the GM to make that trade was none other than our current.
there were also rumors that Sweeney pushed him in that one, and I don't know if we can really say that now that he's traded Taylor too. But
No,
it's
I
one of
can't. I don't
those.
think we can say that now that he's traded Taylor
But
too.
it's one of those things where if you look at the trades the Bruins have made in the last few weeks, few months, you can kind of see like, okay, those are pretty bad trades. Signing
Mhm.
McQuaid, for example, and Kelly, and just like a couple of those signings, you're like, okay, maybe it wasn't entirely Shirley.
I think Cam Neely was really pushing
Yeah,
Cam Neely
for
makes it
Sagan
more
Neely,
likely.
Sweeney,
Yeah.
probably.
traded. I remember I
Even
saw
like even if it was a Cam Neely kind of situation, like at that time too, like they went for Louis Eriksson, and in the end, not like this season too, weren't even able to hold on to Louis Eriksson. Who else did they get in that deal?
Joe Morrow, who was a prospect at the time.
Jesus, really?
Yep.
Oof. Second trade. I
I
got
don't remember. I don't remember. I don't even think Sagan that went either.
I don't know.
Boston got Erickson, Riley Smith, Joe Morrow, Matt Fraser. Dallas got Sagan, Peverly, Button, and Ryan Button. Yeah,
Ryan Button. I
think
went
it
to
was like
university with that.
I think it was a third round pick.
Rich Beverly, if he didn't have his heart problems, would definitely be killing it right
Yeah,
now
he was a
too.
good player.
Yeah, he was pretty decent. Yeah,
Mhm.
but Joe
He's one of
Morrow
those like
was good.
stereotypical really good top nine players that can shift into a top six roles.
Joe
That's
Morrow
like
was a great prospect for a while.
Wasn't Matt Fraser the guy that ended up on Edmonton?
I
Yep.
won't say
Pretty sure
so.
it was, yeah.
And Riley Smith, isn't he still in the Boston system?
he is in the Boston system, but the other Smith ended up to be the more effective brother, wasn't it?
I don't.
Am I confusing the? I'm confusing the brothers. Don't worry.
Yeah, I'm confusing myself here. So yeah, moving on. I mean, you rarely get value for superstars.
So
Like we all know that.
It was Boston and Dallas agreed to this is from NHL.com. Boston and Dallas agreed to a 7-player trade Thursday, with the Bruins sending forward Tyler Seguin, Rich Peverly, and Ryan Button to the Stars for forward Louis Eriksson and 3 prospects being Joe Morrow, Riley Smith, Matt Fraser. So that's like
Two of which
you look at that and the Bruins got absolutely fucking wrecked.
Mm-hmm.
So at least in this
and at that time, that trade wasn't considered to be very lopsided.
it was
It's just
no,
random
it was
more
seen
than
as
lopsided.
bad. It was pretty like the thing is that what we got back is arguably better than any of those players ever were.
Yeah, I don't think I ever looked at that Sagan trade and was like, not bad. No, I thought it was pretty terrible
No,
right from
you
the.
could-
No.
We did the same thing with this one though.
Oh, this one I would consider in terms of assets is worse. But that being
Numbers
said,
don't mean quality, though. I
we
mean,
didn't get like prospects. That being said, like the same situation exists with Larsson, where they picked up Peverly under the assumption that maybe it was just the team that he was playing with, and now he can be put into a better role and he'll to play better.
Larson
But just because you're put into a better role doesn't mean
right.
that you're going to be.
But Larson was better than Peverly or Morrow or anybody that got back. That's what I mean. Is that
Then no, Larsson was or not Larsson. What was it?
Peverly?
Not Peverly. What's his name? Eriksson. Eriksson was considered one of the most underrated players in the league. Like
Yeah,
he
but
won a competition for who was the most underrated player in the league that I think Sports Illustrated did, or
Yeah,
like the hockey news did,
that's
that were
I
voting
wouldn't
Sagan is
call
still
SI.
Sagan, though. I mean,
Yeah, I
I don't
wouldn't really
care about
call SI
underrated.
hockey very.
I care about
It
superstars.
was they were polling NHL players.
Yeah, and I think now again, yeah, you could see
Like
he
it's
was
not as
very
if you guys
underrated.
are
Yeah.
acting as if Eriksson was an absolute chump. He
No,
wasn't. He
No,
was
he wasn't.
no,
considered a fairly good player that wasn't renowned because of the system that he was like the market he was playing in.
but
Yeah.
I think
And he
Larsson
comes to Boston and still disappears.
I think Larsson is more well known as a very good defenseman already than being underrated. Although I guess it depends who you talk to, because people have been saying Larsson's overrated, underrated, justly rated. Like and that's I think that's the thing that
Larson,
confuses me
I,
the most about Larsson is that there's no consensus on how good he can be.
Defenseman, though. I mean, that old adage, like, they take longer. What is he? 23.
Yeah,
He's
same age as
probably 2 seasons away, I would say, before we really know what we got with him.
yeah.
Mhm. So I guess adding on to that, then, do you guys believe that Hall's attitude, because that's something that's coming up fairly often, played a part in him being traded over the other two players?
I don't know about his attitude in the locker
Or do
room.
you think the locker room's attitude will improve with his absence?
I don't know about his locker room attitude, but I loved his attitude on the ice. He was the only player that gave a fuck too many nights, and I love that. You know?
I wish him all the luck in with the Devils. Honestly, I do.
Yeah, me too. That team folded like a wet paper bag, man.
Even when like Hall went through his what was it streak where he wasn't playing that great and he wasn't being effective, you could really tell that he was absolutely passionate, cared about what was going on in the ice, and it was just a few odd missteps here and there that can be just accounted to maybe an injury, maybe confidence problems, maybe something else altogether.
I mean, he's always been a streaky player. That's not nothing new.
Yeah, that's
Taylor
true.
Hall, when he's on, he's putting up 2.5 points a game. When he's off, he's stone cold for 2 weeks at a time. And that partially, that's maybe, I mean, that might be
He's still able to be a superstar.
right. That might have
with
been a
those
factor. If you consider a lot of things, that might have been a factor in the trade. Is that Jordan Eberle doesn't produce as much, but he is consistent. He is absolutely the most consistent player in the Oilers as far as points, up until Connor McDavid. He was no go back.
I would argue no because like while Eberle was really high on 5-on-5 points per 60, Hall did end up overtaking him on the
no,
team.
but I'm not talking pure numbers. I'm talking consistently. Every second game, Eberle would at least get a point. He was well over 0.5 points per game, whereas Taylor Hall could be at 1.12, which he often is. But he's going 4 games without scoring, and then he puts up 3 points in a game, 2 points the next game, 4 points the next game, and then he goes on a cold. Like he's very streaky. That's all I'm saying. Is that Taylor Hall is a streaky player versus Jordan Eberle, who produces consistently but not nearly as much.
Adam Henrique is their top center for the Devils, right?
Yes. They're gonna wreck shit. Those two players because they played together in juniors too.
Hall plays. I would argue that Hall plays more effectively now as a playmaker than he does as a pure sniper.
Yeah,
And he's gonna love it with playing with Henrique.
they're gonna be great together. Now.
Anyway, I guess let's move on slightly.
But we
we'll
said
probably end
the
up coming
attitude
back.
thing, right? Well, because there's
Right, the attitude.
discrepancy.
Sorry.
The attitude, I don't know. It's because we don't know, and we genuinely don't know. They're never going to throw each other on the bus. So, we've all heard the stories about him going out, but they've kind of teetered off in the last few years, and maybe he's more of a negative guy because he's competitive, but a lot of competitive people tend to be more hard on themselves and their teammates because they want to win. I say that from experience, and I find that I don't know. I mean, you've heard reports that he's uncoachable, but again, Drager is a gigantic cunt. Then
Drager says a lot of shit.
I mean, Drager's a great source for certain news, but he's not
when
reliable
he's speculating and he's doing those speculating pieces, he's absolutely horrible.
I hate that.
Yeah. And then you hear reports that, oh, Taylor Hall is locker room cancer. But no one's ever said it when they left. They said, oh, the kids want to win.
Yeah, like Eakins when he left said that Hall wasn't a problem in the locker room.
No. And then people are, and there's Scrivens where it's like, Yakupov was a great guy. This guy was a great guy. That guy was a great guy. Subban was a great guy. But he didn't say the Hall was a great guy. Again, I think maybe we're delving too much into nitty-gritty on that one.
It's getting
I mean,
pedantic, yeah.
it could be, but at the same time, maybe he was on this is on Steve Dangle's podcast, and might have been he didn't think of saying it that he's a great player instead. It's like I don't. It could be that it's something by omission, but it could just as well be that he just didn't say it that one time. Like it varies quite a bit. So I don't know.
Yeah. Anyway, let's move on. We will probably end up coming back to this, but I guess we lost a left winger, but in the free agency we gained a left winger. Milan Lucic signing. What was it? $6 million for 7 years. He is currently 27?
Yeah.
28.
28 years old.
Yeah.
Apologies. And he will be signed on until he is, I can do the math, 35 at $6 million a year. Do you think it's a good signing? How do you see the team dynamic changing with this? And honestly, I guess, do you think compared to some of the other free agency signings, what are your opinions on this?
Do you want to start, Adam, or do you want me
Sure.
to start? Or?
So I was initially really worried about this one because I thought he was going to get 7 mil by 6, and I was like, if we do that, no. 6 by 7, it hurts, but I can live with it in the sense that for 3 to 4 years, potentially even 5, he's going to be a very good player for us. He's going to be the kind of guy that can stick up for other players. He's going to go into corners and play puck battles. He hits people. He fights. He scores. He's a good player. Now you talk about the salary. The salary, it's the contract as far as salary goes isn't bad. Considering he was arguably the top free agent this year, probably the top. He outside of Stamkos, of course. He got paid well, and if people want to compare him to Hall, Taylor Hall was on one hell of a peach of a contract. Like,
Yeah.
Taylor Hall's contract is arguably one of the best in the league, so we can't expect him to get like $4 million a year. The length is what concerns me. 7 years is a long time for a guy who's 28 and plays the style of game he does. It breaks down your body. He's going to hit 35, and maybe he's going to be good until he's 33, and the last 2 years are going to be pain for him and for the team. But when you talk about $6 million a year, he has an MNC and an NTC for the last 2 years, I think, right? Something like that?
Yeah.
So we can't really buy him out, but maybe he'd be willing to move at that point. Like, you don't really know. And so the length is the major issue for me, which, again, if he's really good for 4 or 5 years, maybe it's not too much of an issue. Maybe we go, Milan, you worked your ass off while you were here for 5 years. Those other 2 years, we're not going to be happy with the fact we're playing you $6 million a year, but it's bearable depending on how we do. If we're in the conference finals in 3 years, then... And he's a big part of it.
Let's not count our hit.
I think that this almost sets up a window for us of 5 years.
5-6 years? Yeah.
To do some real damage. And, we got to do a lot of improving in that time. But, those last couple of years for Lucic, and if he stays, I think that they're going to be pretty painful. Like you said, Adam, the style of game he plays does not lend itself to long, effective careers. But I think that he will be a great scorer, tough guy, everything, pretty much everything good for 5 years. And, that's free agency. This is what it is.
Mm-hmm. It is an interesting trade-off in terms of, because there's no way I can't stop comparing Hall and Lucic, because that's basically what got replaced, right? Hall was a guy that would give his heart and soul out every single game, but he would still be streaky in terms of his points. Lucic is more consistent for his points, but I decided to like follow him a little bit more closely past season, and a few seasons past when he was with the Bruins, I was like, maybe we should go after him, and I was a naive little kid. Then you quickly realize that he's in it and really in it about 15% of the time, and that's when he's like wrecking shop. He's was it taking names? He's scoring goals. Like what the heck? How did that go in? Kind of stuff. And then the other percent of the time, he's up to his antics, or he's just absolutely coasting, or he's just not contributing very positively on the ice. Do you think this might impact chemistry with McDavid, or do you guys not see this at all? Because it's not just Bruins fans also that are saying this, but also the Kings fan have pointed this out as a problem for Lucic.
I could see it as. I wonder if McDavid's almost going to be used as like an incentive, where it's like, if you fuck up, you don't get to play with McDavid. Because I mean, they saw him at the airport wearing a McDavid shirt. He's a fan because he knows he's going to put up ridiculous points next to this kid. I mean, McDavid was at what 1.1 something points per game, right? 1.12, I think.
He was the highest. He was the second highest
in the league.
5-on-5 points per 60 this season.
Yeah. So
next to Yager.
Yeah, he puts up 1.12 points per game in whatever long he played. And he played better after he returned from broken collarbone. Like that's fucking ridiculous. And so Lucic knows that. He knows that he's gonna put up ridiculous points. And the other side of it is McLellan and Shirley won't really mind somebody that goes in there and maybe helps McDavid out in the corners or isn't gonna let him push him around. Is gonna kind of wreck shop a little bit. I think they'll deal with some of the character, or not character, but problems that comes associated with a player of his style of game. I think they'll be okay with it. And I, to an extent, will be okay with it as long as it doesn't cost us dearly in a penalty kill and he's still putting up points. If he's going out and he's putting up 1 point per game, or a point every 3 games, and he's taking 6 penalties and over those 3 games, and
we're going to take a lot of penalties this season.
Then we're gonna be one of the most penalized teams in the league.
We were one of the most penalized teams in the league after, I think, an All-Star break. I think it was last season.
Our penalty kill's gonna have to be good. But
it's not. But yeah.
No, it will have to be good.
Yeah.
I think the antics are a little concerning, but the antics aren't as concerning if he's next to McDavid, just because of the sheer number of points he's going to put up. Like it'll balance a little bit.
Okay. James, did you want to answer that, or do you want me to go on to the next?
That was perfect. I mean, that was good. Yeah.
Okay. Also, very important regular roster signings. 2 things happen. I guess I'll start with the first one. Lauri Korpikoski has been bought out. Praise to the streets. And I guess, almost in a sense, did you guys find this surprising? Did you guys see it coming? We will explain later why this is such a great buyout, but sorry.
He had another year, yeah.
Oh, just 1 year?
Yeah.
I thought maybe they would keep him around for Puljujärvi to help him
adjust,
fit in, adjust, immigrate, whatever word you want to use. I don't know. But, honestly, I was surprised. He was awful last season, probably the worst player on the team by a fair margin. But if you think about it rationally at the same time, to help someone adjust when you're playing that poorly is a pretty piss-poor reason for keeping them around. So I shouldn't have been surprised, but I was.
Yep.
I was purely surprised because I genuinely thought they were going to keep him around for a year because his contract was small enough that it didn't matter, but big enough that you're like, well, you don't really want to waste that. But I for one am very happy because I fucking hate Korpikoski's play. I'm sure he's an okay guy, but my god, he was useless on the ice.
He was brutal.
So it genuinely surprised me that I'm like, I guess they didn't like it either because they bought him out, but it saves us like $1.5 million in cap or something like that. And then he will be a player that we kind of went, okay, well, you were shit for a season, we don't have to worry about you again. And if you think about it, our bottom 6, we kind of went overboard, I think, last week too, in saying that it was the worst in the league. It's not good, But
It's horrible.
it was horrible because we had Anton Lander and Korpikoski playing on the fourth line.
We had lots of injuries to our
That too.
tops, as
So
I
I mean, we were
understand.
without Hendricks for a good part of it, who at times wasn't exactly the player he has been. Letestu didn't pick up until the last half of the season. So I think
Asian really cooled off.
looking at it,
Mhm.
Letestu, Cassian, Pakarinen, Lander can't actually play that badly again. Like it's almost impossible for him to play that badly. I
I would
say
try
almost because
Lander
you never
again, yeah.
really know. And
Yeah.
then I have a feeling we'll probably sign some free agent to be our bottom, and then bottom pairing, and we have Kaguli. I don't know how to say his name.
Drake.
Caligula.
Drake.
Caligula. That crazy
Who
number. I don't know.
reportedly had an amazing.
I'm calling
prospect
him
camp.
Drake Track.
I'm just calling him Drake. He had an amazing camp apparently. So, I think we got options, and I think losing Korpikoski is a push in the right direction.
Yeah, I think Drake is like, unless he really surprises in
He's
camp, I
AHL.
don't, like he's got to be an AHL guy. Same with Taylor Beck. Actually,
Also,
he was on the fourth line for Nashville.
Mark Fraser as
I think
well.
he was okay, wasn't he?
Mm.
Taylor Beck, he was okay.
I remember hearing his name occasionally, but not a whole lot about him. So I don't want to delve into that one.
He has like he's sort of like the super duper fringe scratched forward.
Yeah, like your 13th forward kind of.
Yeah.
I want to say he played junior with Hull. Did he? No, he played. Oh no, he played for Guelph. Never mind. All right.
Yeah.
Um,
I guess another signing too that happened was Jonas Gustavsson. Your thoughts on the pickup?
Makes
I'm
me a
gonna
little
look
bit
at his stats here
nervous.
first. I know,
Pardon?
I don't. I mean, a monster is how much do we sign him for?
It was just 1 year, but I forget the terms.
Jonas Gustavsson. In one chart, 800,000.
Oh yeah, minimal money. It was a little bit of an off the board signing for me because I saw him on the free agency list, but I'm like, you haven't really heard about him a lot. He hasn't played a whole lot lately. I don't think I'll pick him up. I mean, the last team he played for was the Bruins. He played 24 last year, had a 2.72 and a 9.08, so less than stellar. And the year before he was actually sent to the AHL from the Wings.
Yep.
So I think it's a guy that he has experience. So it's that thing where it's okay. Well, we don't want Brissois. I think the big part of this is Brissois doesn't have to start in the NHL.
Uh-huh.
So
Yeah, well, it's buying him another year, but I think that if, like, they're expecting Brissois to essentially be an all-star at the AHL level, they're probably going to bring him up again to the Oilers at some point during next season, and they're going to be expecting him to be a lot better than he was this past year.
which is I think
He really needs to be.
a big part of this is that you can sign this guy for 1 year and then release him, and it's like, okay, thanks for helping us for a year. We have a better prospect. Whereas a lot of the other guys that were better goaltenders, their backups are probably looking for 2 years or more because they are better backups. So in this sense,
Mind you, I don't think.
you know,
I think Gustafsson has the potential to be just a serviceable backup that we need for the temporary basis. Also, Gustafsson's one of those players too that just spontaneous, like he'll be like an Anders Nielsen, where he'll like have that odd games where you're like, what the heck is going on? And then he'll have that stretch where he's like, holy shoot, you're winning us all the games.
Yeah.
That kind of.
the only concerning thing for me is his injuries. He has a long list of injuries.
Yes.
Yeah.
So he could
That's absolutely true.
he could play a game and then tear his groin. And
That's
go like,
why they
oh, shit.
signed him. It all makes sense now.
So, you're halfway through the season, you're injured. Oh, go Briscoe, it's your chance. And I don't know. It's just it's that weird thing where it's like, I get it, but man, that injury list is 10 feet long. It's concerning.
Well, it's only 1 year.
So it actually was noted that Gustafsson will be competing with LB for the same role behind Talbot.
All right.
And the loser will end up to be the number one stopper in Bakersfield. So there is a possibility, say, Brissois is like, I don't know, they both play horribly, but Brissois was slightly better. That They
I
got
would say like for sure Brossoit is starting in the AHL. For sure it's Talbot and Gustafson. But last season I said for sure Scrivens is going to be an Oiler.
Yeah,
For sure.
yeah.
So
Especially with the thing we're like, oh, well, Nielsen can go through
yeah,
waivers.
Nelson,
Yeah,
it's
my
the
God.
waivers. What do you? No, what are we going to do?
And
That
then,
didn't.
and then Nielsen ends up friggin' starting half the games for the
Exactly.
October.
None of it mattered, and we were all totally wrong.
And,
So
I mean,
Yep.
that's kind of why we don't get
Welcome
paid for this.
to welcome to hockey,
I'm sure
where
GM.
everything's made up and the points don't matter.
yeah,
Like,
pretty
well, for
much.
the Oilers, they don't matter after December, so
Yeah.
I don't know.
Hey, I'll give it to the Oilers this past season, okay? When we were eliminated from the playoffs, we were 8 points back
And they
in
actually,
a
you know what,
shitty situation.
we were in the race until about early January, mid-January this year. It was
Yeah,
we
we
weren't out in
stretched it
November.
another month or so.
Yeah, so an improvement in that sense, and considering
Yeah.
the injuries we had at that point,
Yeah.
not bad.
Oh, man.
Okay, continuing on. I guess
Uh,
the big signing is Jesse Puljujarvi,
yes,
according to Chiarelli. Chiarelli.
you
You'll get it one day.
eventually. The thing I love about the draft was just like someone took a picture of when Shirley realized, and they're all like, and then he goes up and he doesn't know how to say the guy's name.
Yeah.
That's when you know he wasn't prepared. There was
He
no
was not
name bar on
prepared
the
to draft him
jersey.
at all. Oh, man.
Oh, that was great.
I love how too, like later on in the interviews, it's like you gotta learn how to pick up on the bullshit, right? Later on in the interviews, he's like indicating, yeah, we knew there were possibilities that like
No
this
fucking
would
idea.
happen because they kept trying to go after our draft pick and like all this other kind of stuff.
They had no
Uh,
fucking idea what was happening. They're just like, I guess we have to take this guy. Like, it's just, oh my god.
Oh yeah, they were definitely not ready
My
for that.
favorite part of the
Yeah.
entire draft was that I was watching it live, as I'm sure you guys were. And oh no, Arun, I don't know if you were watching it live, right?
Hmm.
But I love just the silence that fell over the rink. They said from the Portland Winterhawks or wherever PLD played, and they go, Pierre looked at
Yeah.
and the entire rink goes, and there's
Yeah.
just silence, and I'm like,
Air got
yes!
sucked out.
Yeah.
Like,
All right, I guess addressing potential line mates and all that kind of stuff. What does he play, right wing or left wing?
I think he's right
you're
wing.
right wing. My
Right
biggest
wing,
question,
yeah.
my biggest question was,
We might have a logjam at the right wing position then.
I was gonna say he can go to the AHL. So do you send him there to start, just so he can rehab his knee for sure?
Actually, I would start him in the AHL, just not for like, oh, you're not playing, like your level of play isn't enough, but just to get used to the size of the ice. Because every player that comes over from the KHL, basically European hockey, the thing that they always have to take time to accommodate to is the size of the rink.
Except Panarin,
Yeah.
apparently.
Because he's playing with a guy that like
Had an was the best
just
in the league.
turned into an absolute monster this season for points outside of the playoffs.
That's what Colorado did with their guy last year, Mikko Rantanen.
Right.
They drafted him out of Finland, and he got his 9 games with the Avalanche, but he spent most of the season with their team. I think it's San Antonio Rampage, and he did really well. Like he was a point a game.
I
And
know,
they-
isn't
San
Lake-
Antonio
isn't Lake
Rampage
Erie?
is the
Lake Erie.
is
It's
the
the
LA
Lake Erie Monsters, I think it is. It's
Oh,
Lake
yeah.
Erie for Colorado.
okay.
The only reason I know
Yes.
that is I've played the AHL off NHL 14. I play with the Avs, so
I gotta look that up now.
I'm
yeah.
pretty sure it's Lake Erie.
San Antonio Rampage is the LA Kings.
No, that's Manchester Monarchs.
Yeah, we're good at this. I'm fairly certain it's Lake Erie.
Okay, regardless
Um,
of signings and whatever.
I think
and
you give him 9
whatnots.
games, and if you
It
look
is
like
San Antonio. What
it
the
is
hell?
San Antonio.
Yeah,
Who's
screw
Lake Erie?
you guys. Who's right? I'm right.
All right, all right.
I'm right. What are you talking about?
Did you say San Antonio?
No, you didn't.
I'm confused. Anyway, Adam, you were saying about
I think you give Puljujarvi 9 games. Siri goes from there, and then maybe play him second or third pairing.
okay,
um,
what if you have the situation like we
Right.
had with, say, Leon Draisaitl, where you have some injuries, you have a lot of injuries that happen, you have a huge depth at the right wing, and he's not playing like really well, but at the same time, he's not playing horribly either. Do you keep him up or
If we have
should
injuries,
you?
if you have injuries, you keep him up.
Because that's one of the big things that the Oilers were faulted for in the past is keeping up prospects that weren't ready.
Right,
No, I think
but
it's a pretty easy call. You keep them up if there's no injuries. If there are injuries, sorry, reverse that. You keep them up, but right wing we have Eberle, we have Yakupov. I think Kassian can slide up there as well. So
who's
there's
our
a
fourth?
few options.
we're missing a right winger in there.
I know, but
No, that's four
Oh,
right
yes.
wingers, isn't
Is Puckering left or right wing? No, that's three. Cassian, Eberle, and
Yakupov.
Yak. That's three. That's assuming we keep Yakupov. We don't even know if we keep him yet.
yeah,
I think we keep him. I don't see a trade coming.
It'd be kind of stupid.
Considering that, what was it? I think Chiarelli came out and said that we're not shopping Yakupov. I'm not.
Well,
consider
there's
it.
this weird
Bergman
thing
was
where,
not shopping Subban.
Yeah, well,
No, but like the difference is Chiarelli said any one of the 6 million guys could be gone, and one of the 6 million guys was gone. He's not. Was it Mark Bergevin?
and Shirley has a better track record as far as actually trading players. Where Belgium goes, no, I'm not gonna do anything. Oh no, I did it. Oh no, like just it's I don't know. I'd take Shirley's word more than I would Belgium, especially after the whole Weber Subban thing. But
Yeah.
it's the Yakupov thing is just
Oh, Pakarainen is right winger.
he is right. Okay, that's what I thought. Well, no, I didn't think that. I forgot. I thought he was left winger for some reason. So Packers, yeah, I could see Puljujärvi getting his 9 games and then going down.
Oh gosh, I know who our whipping boy will be next season.
Lander,
No, Pouliot,
ooh,
because he's being
yeah.
paid a lot, and he gets slid down on the depth chart thanks to Milan Lucic, as well as Patrick Maroon, who plays absolutely like trash if he's lower in the depth chart, but wonderfully when he's higher in the depth chart.
So that's an interesting actually point is that do you start because now you have 3 guys in left wing that are being Maroon's not being paid great, but Maroon played both McDavid. Was it McDavid?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
It was.
So McDavid, Maroon, Yakupov maybe, and then
I want to actually see that line of. It's not going to happen.
no.
But I want to see that line of Benoit, Pouliot, McDavid, Yakupov happen just one more time.
Yeah.
And then the second line could be
Lucic.
what was it? No, Maroon, Draisaitl, and Eberle. And the third line could be Lucic. Even though we say 3 lines, it's like they're pretty much even in minutes, right? Outside of possibly the McDavid line.
So you go Lucic,
Lucic,
Nuge.
Ryan Nugent-Hopkins, and Jesse Puljujärvi.
Now the interesting thing that
The reason that I postulate that is among the 3 centers, the one that's best at board play and the style of play that is more conducive to like Lucic's style of play is Ryan Nugent-Hopkins.
yeah, and it's I don't know, it's a weird thing that a lot of I think most Oilers fans recognize at this point, but a lot of other teams think Nuge is really bad on the boards, which is kind of a weird
Yeah,
misconception.
that's a total mistake.
Because he's
Mhm.
pretty strong. But I think the weird thing we jump into now is that you could have Puljujärvi start in the AHL and Draisaitl start on the wing, and all of a sudden you have one of Pouliot, Maroon, or
Yakupov.
Lucic playing with Lander
Lander.
or
Yeah.
or Letestu.
Mind you, Drake Caligula can also slot in on the
He's
left.
mostly a winger, is he not?
He's left wing, I
Yeah.
think.
Left wing, yeah.
He's played. It's one of those things where it's like he's played center, but he mostly left wing. The same thing with Puljujärvi, where he played center for a bit, but he's mostly right wing.
Mhm.
So I think this is gonna be my Shirelia. Oh, fuck me.
Haha, it's spreading. Anyway, I guess any objections to me moving on to the topics?
No, go ahead.
No?
How long are you going
Okay,
for, by the way?
so a
Yeah, we
lot of
feel like
major signings and all that kind of stuff. NHL wrap up. I'll pull up a list of all the major signings. Um,
Where did Demers go?
uh, Pardon?
Where did Demers
Florida.
go? Hmm?
Florida, didn't he?
Yeah.
Florida. He went to Florida.
Man, you want to look at the list of
I
signings?
understand why he went to Florida because he was probably after taxes and whatnot. He was looking to make around $4 million a year with the Oilers. That's why he probably asked around 5.5. With Florida, he doesn't need to ask for 5.5. He can just ask for 4, and he'll get that much.
Well, and the fact that Florida, after all their signings, is going to be a ridiculously goddamn good team this year. Like they went all
I
out.
want Lucic.
They signed.
Yeah, they got
everybody.
better by subtraction too.
They just went full on. Like if you
That
wanna look
Ekblad extension is pretty huge.
yeah, wow, that's a ginormous freaking contract. But he's also going to be the number one defenseman in the NHL in 3 years. I think like you give him 2 or 3 years, he's going to be the best player in the league, best defenseman in the league.
Who?
Ekblad.
Ekblad? Yeah, yes, absolutely. I agree with that statement. Okay, one of the signings that I thought was like a low-key, possibly could be one good signing. I'm trying to find it again, dang it. It was
Vanek or Semin?
David Perron,
Oh,
who has
Blues.
re-signed with the Blues, or returned to the Blues, rather. 2 years, $7 million, so the cap hit is 3.75. Thoughts on the signing?
Yeah, I feel like he's a really, really effective second line winger. You know, like in the right situation, you can plug him into the first line. That cap hit is very favorable, especially when you got players like Shattenkirk. Maybe they'll take a run at re-signing him. Tarasenko's cap hit is massive now. Schwartz, is he due up for a new contract now?
I want to say next year.
Yeah, next year.
Yeah,
So-
that's going to be a mess, and I hope we scavenge on the parts, the Oilers.
Yeah. So I mean, good cap friendly signing for a couple of years there for him, and I think that's actually an opportunity for him to kind of rebuild his career a little bit. He's bounced around a little bit the last couple seasons, I think, and I think he can play better. You know, he played well with his time in Edmonton. He was great in St. Louis. So
Wasn't very good at Penguins.
So that basically replaces Troy Brouwer, I believe.
Yeah, well, he's 28. Perron's 28 too.
They're opposite wingers, but Troy Brouwer. Another really low-key signing that I think will be extremely effective. Again, I'm skipping over the obvious ones for the time being, but Jamie McGinn, 3 years at $10 million.
I know nothing
Now,
about him.
he's the kind of player that on certain teams just is a fourth-line grinder, but with the Sharks as well as with the Ducks, I believe it was, he can totally fit into a top 6 role. Do you think he's worth the 3.3 though?
I honestly don't know anything about him, so I'm not
I think he's a little bit overpaid. Yeah, he's that's the free agency premium though. Like I hate going back to that, but I feel like he's a little bit overpaid.
He's a little bit overpaid.
Short answer. Yeah.
Who's with the Avs, by the
Yeah,
way?
I would agree that he's about $500K overpaid, and that's pretty much it.
Yeah.
Which compared to some other overpays that have happened, this free agency is
In the grand
not
scheme
that-
of things, like
He
yeah,
hasn't
not
played for the
that bad.
Sharks since 2011. It's been the Avs and then the Sabres and then the Ducks. But
Yeah,
this season
and
in
he's
between.
played well with all of those teams putting up
He
a lot of
put
points.
up 39 points this season in about 84 games.
Hmm.
So
So that's around
So,
40
you know,
points
like right.
for a guy that you're paying 3.3 for. That's not bad.
No, I guess.
Yeah.
um,
Along with that, I guess another potential, who knows what'll happen kind of signing is Radulov for the
Canadiens.
Montreal Canadiens.
Is he coming or not?
yeah, he is.
He is coming. $5.75 million, 1-year contract.
Oh man, that's gonna.
Thank fuck we didn't get him. I don't understand how Belshevin goes. Subban has problems. So we need a new culture change. We need to be like Chicago, and then you bring in Radulov, who
Yeah.
who bolted last year from the Predators and didn't do shit all. Went on drinking that
Not last
playoff
year.
games 2 years ago.
That was a while ago now.
3
No,
years
it
ago.
was
That was a
only a
while
couple
ago.
years
It was like
You know,
5 years ago.
He bolted.
Yeah, it's a
no,
long
he
time
was
ago.
Predators. He was at the Predators like 2 years ago. Remember, because it was the whole thing in the playoffs where they were in the playoffs and he went drinking the night before and they benched him.
It seems like it was
I think it was only a couple years ago. You guys discuss. I'm going to check this.
Okay,
oh, you know what? It's
2011, 2012.
Yeah, I
shit.
fucking told you.
All right,
So do you think he has a maturity now to like do well?
I don't think so. Like, I agree with your idea. Like, trading Subban because of attitude problems and then bringing in Alexander Radulov is, wow, that is dumb.
That is really dumb.
Now,
that is like the big. I think there may have been something else, possibly even, but even then, I don't understand the justification behind that trade, kind of thing.
He slides right in as their number one right wing.
I mean, he does.
He put this year,
but I don't know if he can put up the same number of points as he has in the past.
I mean, he put up 65 and 53 this year. He put up 71 and 46 last year. 34 and 34 the year before.
KHL, I don't consider that anything, man. Cam Barker won the Norris.
He put up 7 points in 9 games in the playoffs for the Predators.
Yeah,
so
that
he
was
has the potential to be a very good signing. But this seems like one of those things where he keeps his nose clean for a year, plays really goddamn well for a year, is a surprise of the NHL,
and then turns to semen.
Turns into a 4-year contract out of it because he wants to play until he's 34. Gets like $5.5 million per year, and then sucks dick after that.
Oh, like that.
Nothing wrong with sucking dick.
Specifically Bergevans.
But if you're playing poorly with Radulov, like I don't like that reference. I don't like saying that reference because it's whatever. But
another low-key signing that happened that could turn out to be extremely good because, simply put, I think he put up, what, 50, 70? I forget the totals. P.A. Parenteau. Parenteau. Some people call him Parenteau. Some people call him Parenteau.
He's back with the Islanders.
He's back with the Islanders at $1.2 million a year, and he's getting to play with JT Money once again.
He put up 40.
He can play pretty much any role. Signing. Pardon?
I think that could be a really good low-key signing.
That could be one of the best signings, yes.
That's his second go-around with the Islanders. Last time he was there, he had a 67-point season, I remember.
Yeah.
And I'm not saying he's going to get 67 points again, but like 50 is definitely not out of the question whatsoever.
He put up.
I mean, he got 41 points on the Leafs.
Yeah, I was going to say he put up 41 points on arguably one of the worst historic teams in.
Not arguably, it was one of the worst teams outside of, say, Buffalo last season.
Yeah, and Buffalo was actually tanking that year.
Yeah.
Like this year,
the Flyers in 06-07, I think, are the worst team that I can remember. But
Oilers 08-09 kind of challenged.
I don't remember that one. Sorry.
No, man, Flyers 06-07, they were awful. They were so bad that year. But
another key pivotal trade, I guess pickups that happened just south of us was with Calgary. They picked up both Brian Elliott. Also in the free agency, they picked up a serviceable backup in Chad Johnson at 1.7 for 1 year, by the way. And Troy Brown.
Too?
Yeah.
Pardon? What did they get Johnson?
Chad Johnson.
I know.
Yeah. I don't know. It was like a week ago. It wasn't
I missed that one. All right.
Yeah, that one I think is a better pickup than Gustavsson, but that's
it is. For how many years? 2 years? 1 year?
1 year at 1.7.
Well, I think those are good moves for the Flames.
Flames are going to be good this year.
Yeah, that shores up their goaltending for sure, and hopefully they have another shit season, but I don't see it in the cards.
I don't want to say it, but I think they're going to playoffs this year. I hate myself for saying it, but
I will counter though. If we can pick up a defenseman that can put up some points, and Klefbom can stay healthier this season than he has in the past, I think we have a legitimate chance to make the playoffs as well.
Well,
and that has more to do with our defense being shored up than picking up Lucic or anything.
If 18-year-old Sam Bennett has anything to say about it, man, I think that
20-year-old, 18-year-old Sam Bennett.
The Flames, I don't know. I think he could really take a big step forward this year. He was a little underwhelming last year, but
Mm.
I'd be looking for him to have a great season.
The only
Combined,
way I could see the
Goudreau,
Flames.
Monahan, Backlund is still there. Man,
The only way I could see the Flames,
Another.
honestly,
I'm not sure. Did we get an opportunity to talk about the Stamkos signing?
not yet. But
no.
one second before
Okay.
before we move on, I just want to say that I think the Flames, like, unless if they get hit with Edmonton like injuries last year, they're screwed. But
Mm.
Yeah, no.
if they stay
They have something.
even moderately healthy, with the way that
Now they
Alex
have a coach
plays,
that's going to be more possession-based hockey as
yeah,
well.
honestly, like they're going to be a good team this year, and it's going to be a really fucking annoying.
Not to mention, like one of the key factors that I believe is really important to make the playoffs is points that you get from your defensemen. And Calgary already is right up there.
Yeah,
Hmm.
It was just
yeah,
their goaltending that was the
no, they're
problem
gonna be.
this season.
All right, so you want to go Stamkos trade, and then possibly talk about Tyson Barrie, and then call it.
Let's go
Stamkos and
Stamkos.
then call it. I think we're kind of
We're a
like
little we're at an hour now. We could do Stamkos and briefly talk about the Nielsen and Ladd signings or
sure.
no,
Yeah.
Sure.
What do you guys
and
think about the
Backus signings as
Stamkos?
well, and Erickson signing possibly. I don't know, just because of the amount of money that was thrown around, not for any other reason.
Anyway,
Anyway, Stamkos. It was 68 for 8 years, 8.5 a year.
Yeah. Okay. I was surprised that he didn't go to free agency. That's honestly, I was expecting him to do that. You only get the opportunity to do that once or twice in the prime of your career. I thought he would have done it because someone would have given him 10 and a half, 11, easy. But I guess he believes in what Tampa Bay is doing, and it's hard not to. They have a great core. He left money on the table, but that gives them flexibility to build around him some more. And
Mhm.
props to him for doing that.
Yeah.
part of it's certainly, I think, what they did this year without him.
Yeah.
I mean, you see one of the best goal scorers in the league go down, and they go, oh well, the Bolts are screwed, and then they just wreck shop in the first 2 rounds of the playoffs,
Hmm.
and then they falter, and they because they couldn't score goals, and it's like, okay, well, you kind of see where they're going here.
Yeah.
And then you look at Vasilevsky, and he played very well. Bishop is probably going to be around for maybe one more season, or he's going to get traded this year.
Yeah.
Hedman, and part of it is there's a huge bromance between Hedman and Stamkos, and you look at that, one of the best defensemen in the league, one of the best goal scorers in the league, and they're both staying on. And Hedman signed was a good contract last year.
No, he
One of
signed as well.
Was this year?
The issue still is they have to sign Kucherov, don't they?
Yeah, Kucherov and
And he's one of the best playoff scorers
Yeah,
in recent history.
he'll be their new. A lot of people thought if Stamkos left, he'd be their new Stamkos. So I think Kucherov gets paid because they still have a bit of room, but Bishop is probably gone. They'll probably sacrifice Bishop for Kucherov. And the
Yeah.
extra $1.5 million, give or take, they would have saved on Stamkos is going to help with that.
Yeah.
So.
All right, and I guess we can. This offseason saw the greatest amount of money that's been thrown around since I believe Parisi Suter offseason. Thoughts on why teams were so desperately throwing around money at all, or no?
I thought it would be the other way around. I thought that they would be more conservative because of the Las Vegas thing coming in.
Well, if you
I don't know.
If you look at
I
how
don't
many-
believe there's many. Was it no trade clause or no movement clause that have been handed out
Yeah.
outside of the like Lucic ones, right?
Yeah, there hasn't been too many. I want to say Hedman
Yeah.
got. I think Stamkos got one. Hedman
Okposo probably got
might have
one.
got one. But it's like, so what it's been is that there were a lot of big players that needed to be signed, and they got signed for fairly decent money. And so this is basically teams going, we need you for more than just this year because you might get picked up otherwise, so we're going to sign you. And then the only players that got NTCs were really players that teams wanted to keep. So Lucic we were going to keep anyway. And Stamkos was going to get one. I think he might have got one. He was going to stay anyway. He was going to be covered. Hedman, same thing. So it's Okposo is going to be covered. Like it's basically any player that wouldn't be exposed got a contract, and that's not really much of a surprise. The amount of money thrown around was big for the NHL, and you saw what the NBA did in like 2.5 weeks. You're like, what the fuck is going on here? 2 days actually, fucking Just
Mhm.
ridiculous. The NBA blew it out of the water. Different league, different salary cap rules, but not really
No, I
surprised.
think the 17th, was it the 2 minute thing that happened in the NHL was just on
Oh,
another
that
level.
was now. You want to talk
Anyway, I
about?
guess that wraps up the.
I was gonna say money being thrown around and trades being done is different to me because the amount of
Okay.
the shit that got done in those 2 minutes were chaos. But I think yeah.
It was so good. Twitter was
Oh,
so good.
You know how I found out about
no, it
PK
wasn't.
Subban?
It was not good. It
I
was
found
not
I
good.
found out about Subban on Facebook.
Outside of the sadness at Montreal fans field, it was not good. Anyway, wrapping up
Yeah.
things. Thank you very much for those of you. At the moment, 0 views, so I guess those people that are catching us on our recorded VOD, and if you've made it this far, congratulations on having no life. And thank you very much for watching to this point. This has been Arun, otherwise known as Arun Tech 5. With me, whereas Adam, Sweet44722, as well as James, otherwise known as Paul McCartney on Reddit. Thank you very much for joining us today, and that's it, and goodbye.